Welcome back, man. It's Wake Up Woodward. Thank you guys for checking in with the entire Woo crew. We got the whole brotherhood in the building. Just in time for Detroit Lions. And you know what? With us back in studio, not on remote, not out at a Detroit Tigers Legends event, we get to just kind of talk Detroit Lions.
Yes,
and
sir.
I can't wait, man.
Yes, sir. Well, JB's getting some stuff ready on the computer. Let me just start with a primer question to ask you guys. Would you start Hendon Hooker in Game 3 this preseason? And if so, how much would you play him? Or would you give him the Michael Penix Jr. treatment? Say, you're our number 2, we're good. Let's just move on with Sudfeld and Fromm in Game 3.
I would start Michael Penix.
Michael Penix.
I would start Hendon Hooker and play him the whole game. And I understand that
let Hook cook.
And I'll be honest. That second half, what I saw against Kansas City, I've seen enough to where I'm not pounding the table for Ryan Tannehill or a Taylor Heineke anymore. To go along with the fact that he's just so talented, he looked comfortable. He's somebody that Brad Holmes identified, which we all trust him implicitly.
Yep.
However, with Michael Penix, he's more likely to me to be the quarterback of the Falcons' future than Hendon Hooker is for the Lions. I still think Hendon Hooker, the overwhelming likelihood is that Hendon Hooker never is a significant contributor on this Lions team. He's not a first-round draft pick like Michael Penix was. So to me, just play him the whole game. See how well he handles himself in a full preseason game, because the reality is, and I don't know how much other GMs take into account preseason, but Hendon Hooker may need to be a trade chip someday, and that might be the only time you ever see him is in preseason. So play Hendon Hooker the whole game.
I hear a lot of but Tarek Skubal was on the trade market too, everybody. Like, it happens. I get where you're at Flannel. Although I don't get 4 quarters playing him in Game 3. A half. To me, it's a half.
Yeah.
Play him for a half. Only because he needs the reps. I'm good on Hendon Hooker now. I just think he needs as many reps as possible. I think Pittsburgh will at least be playing some of their defensive starters, so I say play him for a half, but I don't want him to get hurt. Like get him in there, get some reps with some 2s, and move on.
I don't want him to get hurt, but selfishly,
I know you want to see him.
Hook Cook season. We waited for this, man. Game 3 is Hendon Hooker's Super Bowl, man.
I would say the one thing I would say to be obviously on a human level and on a Lions fan level, I don't want to see Hendon Hooker get hurt. However, if he does, is it the worst thing in the history of humankind? I would say no. I would say that that's a risk that I would be willing to take because if he does get hurt, then maybe that's the sign you need to go trade for a Taylor Heineke or go grab someone like a Joe Flacco or somebody like that. But if he plays well, then Hendon Hooker is your no doubt quarterback too.
You guys have me conflicted today. It's perfect on a day like today. I don't know where I stand with the Hendon Hooker aspect here, because I want to selfishly see him play. I like and I enjoy seeing him play football just out of what we've been able to, the teases that we've gotten during preseason, and to just be able to get a few more reps, maybe run up that trade value. I'm not going to claim to know how that works. Does it, run up its value? Do you get more by kind of letting what's out there, the good that's out there, be the most people can see, or put some more reps out there on camera? But it's just preseason, so I don't know how much that helps. So selfishly, I'm going to see him play, but if we're thinking long term, maybe it is better, like you're stating, to let him play half, keep him as healthy as possible. But I do want to see him play 4 quarters.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, there's some guys, and I'm going to start with the player on the defensive end. I want to get your opinion on a scale from 1 to 5. How close is this player to getting cut? Ooh. And I have 1 being a lock. 2 equals he's safe. Pretty safe to make the 53-man. 3, he's probably a practice squad player or the equivalent. 4, he's a fringe practice squad player. And 5, he's a definite cut. So, JB, are you ready with that first graphic of Mr. James Houston?
James Houston?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so, guys, scale from 1 to 5. James Houston, is he a lock or is he a cut?
I would say he's a 2. He's safe. And the reason is, and I get it, he did not play well during his time at Sam linebacker in preseason. I haven't been hearing that many great things about him in that position, which is why they said, okay, this experiment is over. However, For this defense to function the way that we hope that it does, the Lions need James Houston to be that guy who just goes after the quarterback, even if it's 10, 15 times a game. And I think that that's a valuable enough skill that he has shown at the NFL level a couple of years ago that he will make this team. I'm not calling him a lock quite yet, but I'm saying that he is safe.
And I'm kind of there too. I'm probably leaning closer towards lock, but still in a safe standpoint because I believe he's a gamer. I think kind of when regular season lights turn on and you put him out there in the field, I just believe that James Houston is one of those guys that's going to be a full goal. Especially, I don't really want to call it simplifying his role, but really putting him in a role where he can just, his skills, what we know he can do best, can be best utilized. Just get after the quarterback. That's kind of what I liked out of that one explosive play out of Matthew Betts. And when you're talking about the edge rusher depth, when you're talking about the ability to have this defensive line really, really, really be a strength of this defense, I do believe James Houston is one of those guys that you want to have on the roster. Has a little bit of familiarity, doesn't have to learn too much, and already understands what his role is going to be. So safe, but leaning towards lock.
All right, KG, what about you? 1 through 5, James Houston.
Yeah, I got a 2. I'm with everybody here. This is a big prove-it year for James Houston. This year he was on the team kind of by default, just based on how his contract was set up. But I think they like the stuff that they've seen from James Houston in the past. It's all about just doing it again, man. I know what he did in 2022 was so great, but we just need to see him at least get close to that. He doesn't have to get 8 sacks in 9 games again, but if you can contribute during the season, maybe 4 to 5 sacks, I think that's a very successful season for James Houston, but a big prove-it year in terms of his Lions' future going forward.
Yeah, see, I'm going to go a different direction, you guys. And while not a 5, I'm going to give him a 3. I think he's a practice squad player, and I almost put him on the fringe. He hasn't done enough to earn it, and I'm trying to think like Dan Campbell. There have been other guys who have stepped up a little more. Mitchell Agude, Isaac Ukwu. I like James Houston. I want him to make the team. I want him to be that Corvette after Marcus Davenport, but I haven't seen it. I think he's at risk here. Any last comments on that? Otherwise, I'm going to throw an offensive play.
I cannot wait to hear your opinion on a certain other player.
Okay.
I cannot wait. But go ahead. Go ahead.
Another guy on the list?
Yes.
Okay.
But go ahead.
A wide receiver, Donovan Peoples-Jones, 1 through 5.
5. Gone. 5.
Yeah.
I got to agree, 5.
And here's the thing. And I want to get this out of the way because I mentioned this on BDE yesterday. He's played a lot of his reps with Nate Sudfeld as his quarterback. It's not like he has the best situation around him, but I just don't see somebody who could separate. I see somebody who came to the Detroit Lions as such a talented player, somebody who's more talented than even a Josh Reynolds, and did absolutely nothing. I don't think that he's the type of receiver that meshes the best with Jared Goff and a Ben Johnson because he can't separate like, say, a Isaiah Williams can. I don't think the Lions, the more that I look at it, the more that I've watched this preseason, I don't necessarily know that the Lions definitely need that big body receiver. You'd like to have one. You'd like it if Donovan Peoples-Jones played up to his potential, but I just think somebody like Isaiah Williams is a better fit for this offense, and Donovan Peoples-Jones, I'm starting to believe, based on what I saw last year and what I've seen from preseason and the lack of excitement about him in a training camp, that maybe Donovan Peoples-Jones is just not a Dan Campbell, Brad Holmes grit kind of guy. Maybe he's just resting on his laurels because in some ways he's already had a successful NFL career, but I don't think that he has that hunger and drive because if he did, there is no excuse for him not being the wide receiver 3 on this team, and he just has not seized it, so he is gone.
There you go. And it's a perfect transition because I was going to say, what do you want out of your big body receiver? Go and get it.
Yes.
And I just don't see that in his spirit at all. This was set up for him. They paved the way. They even brought him in early. They put him on the roster. He got the reps last year in NFL games. We all had hopes for him. We said, you know what? Maybe he can go into this offseason, put the work in, get the chemistry, and go out there and at least give us what we need out of the big body receiver. And he just hasn't had that spirit out in the field, and he hasn't had that as it relates to apparently his work ethic. I don't want to question it. I want to believe that he's working extremely hard. But it's just been, and as we've talked about this throughout preseason, disappointing to see kind of where this wide receiver 3, 4, 5, and hey, you know what? What a time to talk about the Detroit Lions. We're complaining about those wide receivers.
Yeah, he is a grinder and he is a hard worker, but we aren't seeing the results. We aren't seeing it show up on the field regardless of who's throwing him. So I'm with you. I give him a 5. I had so much high hopes for him, but he's one of those guys you put him on the skewer, you put the kebab on the grill because he's cooked. He's cooked,
yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
JB, what would you give him a grade before we get to the next one?
Oh, it's a 5. He's gone. I'm sorry. I just have not seen enough production from this dude to actually need to have him on the team anymore. It's kind of looking like a bad trade from this past season, but hey, there was plenty of potential, but we're just not seeing it. So I'm sorry. You're gone.
Gone. All right, next player on defense. Draft pick. Not draft pick from last year, 2 years ago. Josh Paschal out of Kentucky. 1 through 5, a lock or a cut?
He's a 1. I would say that he's an absolute lock. And I get it. It was a little bit weird seeing him play that late in the preseason game, although he did make his imprint on the game. I just see somebody who has flashed at certain moments. I see somebody who is solid against the run. I see somebody who has the opportunity to play his first healthy season, and he just has that particular set of skills, being the fact that he's a smart player. He's never going to be a 10-sack guy, but he'll give you maybe 3 or 4 or 5. He can get pressure. He's good against the run. He can get TFLs. And on this defensive line, which is already going to be missing John Kaminsky, I think Josh Paschal. I think Josh Paschal, the type of season you can expect from him this year is the type of season we saw from John Kaminsky in 2022. Be about 3rd or 4th on this team in sacks and just for the first time in his career play a full season. So for those reasons, Josh Paschal is a 1. He is a lock.
You know what? Hey, I agree with a lot of that. The biggest concern is probably the injury, but when you got a player that can be as versatilely used as you laid out, I'm cool with it. Maybe, a lot.
KG, I have Josh Paschal at a 2. I say he's safe.
Yeah.
I believe he's going to make the 53-man. I still want to see more out of him, but I think they're giving him another season to prove it. What would you give him, 1 through 5, KG?
Me and you in the same boat. I give him a 2. I feel like that last preseason game really did show this coaching staff a lot. And this is a guy who is absolutely talented, but he's been plagued by injuries most of his career. And he's just struggled in pass rush. He's great in the run, like Sam said. He can play on the edge and in the middle, but he just hasn't been able to really show off his skill set. So you hope that this is the year to do it, especially if they're using, defensive end by committee on the other side of Hutch. So I'd give him a 2.
And that was the question I was going to ask. Because for me, it just comes down to, can he be healthy? I believe getting the playing time, he'll get the rhythm, he'll get the comfortability, and some of the things he's shown that he'll do that. Is this like a do or like a all or bust year for you as it relates to Josh Paschal?
I would say so, because this is now year 3 of Josh Paschal, 2nd round pick. So they invested high capital into this guy, and they expected him to make an impact by now. I know the injury's kind of out of his control, but at the same time, we need a consistent pass rush next to Aiden Hutchinson, and if he doesn't prove it this year, I don't really see how they keep him going forward in the future.
Especially with the investment about to make him.